Hey guys, it's John. I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be going over another amazing piece of architecture, and this is going to be the 1901 Pan American Exposition. This is sometimes otherwise known as the Buffalo World's Fair or the Rainbow City. Now, this took place obviously in Buffalo, New York. It took about 18 months to plan and transform this area, which was pretty much, it was relatively flat. It doesn't say history that there was a lot of woods there or that this was a swamp like some of the other ones. But this fair was held between May 1st and November 2nd, the year 1901. And the total cost for this was about $10 million. We're told receipts for the fair itself for the people attending was $8.8 million. So in some way, this operated at a loss. There were 100 buildings in total. 20 of them were what would be considered major buildings, right? But just a phenomenal feat of engineering and architecture. And we'll just jump right into it. So this here, pretty good map and overview. You can see there's a smaller lake below. There's kind of two bodies of water. But before we even get up there, the first thing that I wanted to highlight here is this building is called the Albright's Art Museum. So we're told that this wasn't able to be finished by the time the fair opened. It was actually only built 4 years later. So in 1905, this was finished and it was opened. It was supposed to be ready for this fair, but for some reason it wasn't able to be done. We're told that they ran into some construction setbacks. But this building is a permanent building, obviously still there. It's the Albright Art Museum. And the other one over here, this was called the New York State Building. And this is now the Buffalo History Museum. These are the only two things that exist from this fair, whether they were planned and built at the right time, like the art museum, but both of these are the only thing that exist at this location anymore. So one of the first things I'd like to just bring your eyes to are these four pillars. This is called the Triumphal Arch. This is a bridge, and this waterway runs all the way around by the tower and comes over here to the other side. Just a massive river river that was built around this, along with all of these. You can kind of see there's jets of water that are shooting up from this reflecting pool area here that's in the middle. And then this is kind of like the main attraction of the whole thing, called the Electric Tower. Now there's a lot of other buildings here that we're going to go over and we're going to check out, but this massive electric tower, 410 feet tall. There was a cascading water, that would come out of the center here. That was supposed to be simulating, Niagara Falls. Really, really large stadium that's back here, could feed 12,000 people. And this is 350 acres. So maybe not as big as some of the other ones, but still a massive task in and of itself to be able to get all the things here, get all of this stuff up and running, right? When there was basically nothing here, we're told. And just to give you an idea of how big it looks laid over the existing area now in upstate New York. So this is what it would have looked like. Obviously, you can see the terminal station that's in the back. I've had some personal debate whether or not these things were here already, and maybe this is just their way of showing stuff off. But nonetheless, this is a huge area. You can kind of see in relation. There's some football fields, some baseball fields, a golf course. This is a massive, massive area, even though it's smaller than some of the other ones. And really, I think it's important to kind of note what was going on at this time from a construction perspective, right? Because while this was being constructed, they were obviously building other things. And so I went online, looked at a couple of listings for places that were in upstate New York, and I found this 4-bedroom house on the left. I found this used to be a church, since has been converted into a permanent residence for people to live. But you can obviously see this was this is what was being constructed. This is what people were doing at that particular time. So, at least just keep this in the back of your mind of, what construction looked like at that time, so that we can then reflect on the thing that we're going to be looking at here. So also important to note, this finished in 1901. Albright's Art Museum didn't get finished until 5 years later, but still, all of this would have been done prior to a couple of things being available. So number one, the concrete mixer was not patented until 1904. The dump truck was not patented until 1910 and invented, right? The transit mixer, so this was, you being able to take the materials themselves and mix this stuff, mix the concrete itself on your way or once you were at the location. But this was the first time that there would be a transit mixer. And then lastly, pretty important, a backhoe, right? Everybody's seen a pool dug. They've seen a trench dug. They've seen one of these backhoes that are out here, and it's the fastest way of you being able to excavate an area. So when you see a bunch of lakes, you see a bunch of rivers, any of these large bodies of water, you would need a backhoe to be able to dig it out. You would need a dump truck to take everything away. And then you'd need that same dump truck and that same backhoe to be able to backfill all the things that are going to be the base of that water, right? Retention pool, whatever it may be. You would need these things. And you would also probably need some way of making some sort of concrete for any of these pools, right? One other thing that I'd like to point out here is you would also need a lot of plumbing to be able to do this, right? So all of the fountains that we're going to take a look at, all of the sources of water that we're going to take a look at, there has to be some way of getting this water there. And there has to be a way of controlling all of the fountains that are going to be functioning, right? So just off the bat, none of the things that we're looking at on the screen would even be available for them to use at this time. Maybe they would have had horses that they could have used to move material from point A to point B. But another thing that I've kind of noticed that I think is interesting on all these world fairs is I don't ever see pictures that show the logistic network, where all the horses are staying, where all the donkeys are staying, where all the workers are staying, the large venues for being able to feed and house all of these people. None of those things are ever really shown in pictures. It's just these very finished afterwards pictures and some pretty suspect construction photos, right? So let's just get into and continue on here. This is just a nice overview, nice picture from above, so you can get an idea just how large this is. One of the things that I want to point out, obviously you can see this very large area that's in the middle. This is all water. It's kind of odd that these people are walking in this area. But hey, maybe this was, drained, or maybe, these people aren't really there, and this is some Photoshop stuff that we have that's very early. But you can just clearly see how large this is, how large these buildings are. It's just a massive, massive area. I talked a little bit before about one of the buildings that are still there. This right here is the New York State Building, which became the Buffalo History Museum. So very much a permanent structure. They say that they made this to be a permanent structure. It's just that none of the other items that were there at the fair, besides the Albright Museum, which we're also going to take a look at, were going to be permanent items, right? But you can just see massive columns. You can go and look up pictures on the inside. It's beautiful. Absolutely, absolutely gorgeous. This right here is the Albright's Art Museum, or the Albright Art Gallery. So I believe this is just the original structure here. And we've had some other things that were added on. But again, very large. I mean, look at all the steps going up. I mean, this place is again another large old world building, as I've now come to call it. I think this building has been here. I think this is a very, very old building. Looks a little bit weathered. Even in the pictures, these buildings look weathered. They don't look like they're brand new construction, right? So just keep that in mind. There's one other thing that I just wanted to point out quickly. When I keep looking at these pictures and I keep looking up these fairs, and this is this masonry, added touch here called a brick ribbon. And so this brick ribbon is an outline or a highlight around, it could be asphalt, concrete, stamped concrete, you name it, but it's basically a brick boundary that goes around or separates two different areas. And you could see over here on the left, you have that same thing going around the center. You have the piece that separates each of these sections, and then this border that goes all the way around, right? You could see that same thing on this, right? It's a very, ornate, beautiful way of kind of, making things look just a little bit nicer, right? But as I'm thinking about this and I'm looking at these pictures, I see a lot of brick ribbons. So it makes me wonder, right? This is like doubling down on the amount of work that you would need to do. Not just these amazing buildings, not just an amazing time frame that you did it all in, but you also gave it this extra oomph of let's make it look good, right? So just think about somebody and the amount of money that they would have to spend on this stamped concrete or this over here to then go over the top and do the brick ribbon. And then you just decide, we just put all that in. Let's just sell our house, honey. Most people wouldn't do something like that. They wouldn't put in all that time and effort to then just leave or to just rip it up and put asphalt back down, right? So just keep that in mind. So these are this is the Triumphal Bridge, and each of these pylons with the statue on top are 149 feet. We'll just call it 150 feet, right? So 150 feet, they're 40 feet by 50 feet on the bottom. Clearly you can see there are doorways and archways for the doors on each of these pylons. And this is actually going over a bridge, right? So I kind of pointed that out in the beginning, but just tons of stuff. Look at these steps over here. This has all got to be concrete, right? There's no way that any of this stuff is not concrete. I tend to think that they're actually walking on concrete, but we'll get into a little bit more than that as we go on. But you could just see the sheer size and scale of this. These things are huge. And I also noticed that the water itself is always going to be bordering on some sort of, brick or concrete. But these very much to me look like this is permanent concrete. It does not look like it's something else. It doesn't look like it's lath and plaster. And I've also kind of thought about the place where this is located, right? This is Buffalo, New York. Upstate New York has some of the roughest winters. So whatever construction you were doing during the summertime would have to make it until the wintertime, because this thing was going to have to be opened in May. So there was a lot of work that would have to have been done around those winter months. And, the changes in temperature, it just doesn't seem realistic that this could have been made out of what they're telling us it is. It also looks far too ornate and beautiful, in my opinion. Again, you can just see the scale of these things, just how large they are. You can see these borders here. You can see, what to me looks like, concrete, or this does not look like something that is temporary. Now, again, this could be gravel, could be dirt. I'm not sure, It's rather interesting. I think it's also important to note that there were over 500 of these sculptures all over the place. So not only did they had to do all the work that they did, they also had to bring in these sculptures and put them everywhere. They also managed somehow to get their hands on a lot of mature trees for the landscaping. Undertaking. Again, nice overview shot so that you can kind of see it. But again, you can clearly spot out that brick ribbon that's going all the way around here. It's clearly visible in all these spots. So a part of me is thinking maybe not all of this is concrete, but it would sure be odd for you to lay down a brick ribbon without there being concrete next to it. Just seems really, really strange. Another nice layout image. You can kind of just see how large this is. But again, look at all these fountains. All of this plumbing would also have to be done, right? The approach towards the electric tower. This electric tower is 391 feet tall. You being able to build a building like this, a structure like this, 391 feet tall, I don't know if anybody's an engineer who's watching, but something tells me this has to have a foundation of some sort. Something that's that large would probably need a solid foundation to sit on top of. I kind of find it really, really hard to believe that this would all just be temporary lath and plaster. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Again, you see that same brick ribbon border. You can clearly see it in these pictures. It's definitely there. I have some skepticism about whether these people are here. I think maybe the second video that I did, there was an overview of how you could do Photoshop, early Photoshop by developing multiple negatives into one image, right? And overlaying them on top of each other. There was even college courses for you to be able to do this. But again, you can just see how large this tower is in the background, and you can kind of see right here, this. So in doing research, this can flow at 11,000 gallons per minute of water. So just the pumps alone that you would need to be able to move that volume of water is phenomenal, right? Like it's got to be huge, just the pumps to be able to do that. Just the pumps to be able to run all of the other fountains that we're seeing here. Again, a lot of work for you to do in 18 months. You got it done perfectly. Some of the most ornate light poles as well, right? Like these aren't just the same light poles that you and I see today that, that are all over a city or a park. These are beautiful. Absolutely exquisite. Here's a little bit more of a close-up of that main one that would flow out here. I mean, it really is beautiful when you look at it. And not only that, they doubled down again and made sure that all of these columns, with maybe it's the acanthus plant, I'm not sure, right? The crown of thorns, but every side of this thing is just beautiful. It's just gorgeous. And we get this close up here, and you can really look and see, I mean, the sculptures are just, it's just gorgeous. And all of this stuff that's going to have to hold water, there's no way that these things are temporary. They just don't look like they're temporary, the size and scale of them. And look at how ornate and decorated all of this is. Even the inside of this. I mean, somebody really took their time to make sure that this just looked absolutely beautiful. And I found some information that basically said that the water flow was controlled by a valve, and it was described as being as large as a poker table, and it was designed to be operated by 2 men. So serious planning had to go in to figure out how many gallons flow we wanted to be able to come out of this thing in the front here. And I mean, again, this is a lot to have done, to have pulled together for something that was only going to be used for 6 months. I mean, it's really, really hard for me to come to terms with the fact that this is all some temporary. This is the side of that electric tower. Again, just huge. I mean, and look at just the ancillary buildings that are connecting all this. Look at the size of these columns. Again, the every top, even this inlay here, the inside, every square inch that they could have made something, it just looks exquisite. Now, something I found when looking this up, because I thought about this electric tower, and I found another electric tower. This one's called the General Electric Tower. It's 294 feet tall, 14 stories, and this was built, we're told, in 1912. But one of the things that kind of caught my eye when I was looking this up was this bank that was right here. And for some reason, this bank very much screams to me those same style of columns, the crowning flower that's at the top, the dome top that we have here. And, this, along with the other World's Fairs that I've looked at, it very, very much feels like that same style of architecture. Now, this, looks a little bit different to me on the other side, but again, it makes me think that maybe these things were not created when they said they were, that maybe they were something completely different. It looks very old and it looks weathered to me, even though we're told that they were just created. I'll maybe have to go back and try to find some other things about Buffalo, but even some of the skyscrapers that are there in this Art Deco style, I mean, they are just exquisite. They are super ornate, detailed. I mean, no expense was wasted. and I don't remember the person that I was listening to. Maybe JT Follows JC was interviewing someone, but they said what you have to remember about this time frame is that this is a newly established country who was against big government, big spending. And here we are making this entire, fair that we're talking about and just wasting money and destroying it all in a very short period of time. And so those two things, those two principles don't seem to really align very well for me. In the forefront here, this is the Ethnology building. Again, you can see the archway, massive doors, columns, domed roof. You can see the brick ribbon everywhere. It's laid out all over the place. Concrete steps. There's a lot of concrete. I don't know where they got it all from. This another view of the Ethnology building again, next to the Temple of Music. Just unbelievable landscaping, mature trees. Just unbelievable that this was all just temporary. I mean, look at all this brick ribbon. It's everywhere. I think that's the one thing that I never noticed before was all the brick ribbon. I mean, there's a lot of brick ribbon that's here. It's really impressive. I just wanted to point out here this music right? Could that have been added on afterwards? I don't think it would be that difficult to do. In fact, I think a lot of these old world buildings and the gargoyles and some of the other things, I think they have actually been added on after the fact. I don't think that the building was originally constructed that way. I don't think that's how it looked. But just wanted to point out that that might not be too hard to do. I also noticed these. I mean, look at these. I don't know if that's growing onto the side of the building, but that's pretty impressive growth for only a year and a half. And I'm pretty sure they didn't just put that up at first, right? Another thing that I found pretty amazing, this is that same Temple of Music. This auditorium could hold 2,200 people. So it's big. It's not the biggest building ever. But one of the things that it does have is one of the largest pipe organs ever built in the United States of America. So that's this right here. Same picture over here. Who puts up a building and also doubles down, another double down, where we put one of the largest pipe organs ever constructed inside of this building in the U.S.? Unreal. Temple of Music, again over here to the right. Probably is most notable for September 6, 1901. President McKinley was shot twice while attending a public meet and greet in the Temple of Music, right? So like one of those receiving lines where, people are shaking your hand. He died 8 days later on September 14th after complications from his wounds, right? He had gangrene and basically passed away, but super ornate. I mean, someone really went above and beyond to draw your eyes. I mean, it's just so aesthetically pleasing to look at it. It's unreal that was created in such a short period of time. It really boggles the mind. Again, more of that brick ribboning, right? You can see it everywhere. You can see more of these reflecting ponds. This is the U.S. government building. Again, another beautiful columned, domed, multiple domed building, right? One massive dome up here on the top, 6 other domes, beautiful statues that accompany everything, landscaping. I mean, it's just beautiful. Nighttime view and daytime view of the machinery and transportation building. But again, on the water here, I mean, it's really, really breathtaking. And it kind of makes me think, man, what a crime that all of this was torn down. Here's a nice panoramic nighttime shot. You've got the Temple of Music. That machinery and transportation building is right here that we just looked at. This is the Court of Fountains and the Electric Tower, Manufacturers and Liberal Arts building, Ethnology building, and then back here, the wing of the government buildings. Unbelievably beautiful. We're also told that all of this was being powered by electricity that was coming from Niagara Falls. Stadium that was on the location. Talked about this a little bit. 12,000 people could sit in here. You can just see the entrance ways of this stuff. I mean, it's really, really beautiful. I mean, just beautiful. And this, almost gives me old Yankee Stadium vibes. But again, all of these things are far too beautiful and far too detailed. And all of these concrete walkways, where did all this concrete come from? I mean, landscaping, sure, you can get trees and shrubs, no problem, but just kind of crazy to me. So, again, let's just think about this. And this is one of those pylons coming down, 150 feet. It's not falling apart in pieces as it's falling down. It seems pretty much to be in one whole solid piece here, right? But this is the view from it being over. 18 months to build, 6 months to have an expo, and then you just tear it all down. You tear it right on down, okay? So, listen, I hope you enjoyed this one. I'm definitely going to review some other ones, But again, I hope there's just, the idea is setting in that maybe there have been really, really large lies that have been told to all of us in the past, especially about our history. And without further scrutiny or thinking about it, it's just like you would accept almost anything that you were told. And I think, this gives an idea of the blueprint for how you erase history, or how you take a very, very complex history that you would have to explain to someone, and you can condense it into a really, really short time frame where people don't even think about the logistics to be able to make this work. I was in the military, and, I've seen 3,000 people have to go through training and get deployed to another country. And the amount of logistics that you need to be able to house, feed, give showers, all those things to people for just a short period of time, it really is boggling the mind when you try to think of how they were able to do all of this in such a short period of time without any pictures or any evidence of all of the logistic network that have went along with it, right? So maybe the idea of Satan's short season is new to you. Maybe you've heard about it before, but hopefully this adds and builds on to the evidence that we've been talking about, that maybe we all have not been told the truth about things, and there's much more to history than we know. So till the next video, thank you. Please comment, like, and subscribe. It's always great to read the comments. I learn a lot of new stuff from you folks, so I'm really thankful, and I look forward to seeing you in another video. Take care. God bless.